Hello there and welcome to the third part of Road to FIDE. Now, a bit of catching up from the last video. I actually got emailed the results of my last match against Salsburgh. I started off as grade 0. I got 3.5 out of 5. I think that's my average opponent's rating, was 747. And I'm now rated 869 in Allegro. I actually have a chess rating after only one match. I didn't know I could get one that quick. Well, this is my graded performance. I don't necessarily mean that grade attaches to you. Yeah, so apparently after my last performance, I'm rated 869, which is quite high, I think, for a first competition. First time actually doing competitive chess against other people. I'm quite proud of that. So we're going to go with the fact that I'm rated 869 and that these are the ratings of my opponents going into the second leg. I went to Salsburgh and we done the second leg, so this is like an away match. So let's see how I did. Now this time I was able to actually write down the moves. No one else was writing down the moves, but I was, so that means I could do this analysis when I came home. We played in the exact same order, we just swapped the pieces around, apart from the last game, which I will get to. This game is standard stuff. I play the white pieces, so I play e4. Opponent plays d5, take, it's e3. So this is a Scandinavian defense. Cheat back gives me a check, offer up a queen trade. That's usually what I do in these positions. I usually just trade the queens off, and then as at least me got one developed piece. Take. I've still got one active piece. The bishop line is opened up. I'm usually, pretty okay there. I push this pawn just to open lines for this bishop, developing but not getting myself into any harm's way. He develops his knight. I don't actually know why I played this move. I played b3, I think, to b8 just in case I wanted to ever pink out this bishop, just leave my options open. I also really want to prevent queen here. Plays knight d4. Now I play the top engine move, which is just trade queens. I thought there's no good square for my queen. Anywhere it goes, it's just going to get attacked. Every square on this diagonal is covered, so I just took. He takes. I saw this move. I saw this fork, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to prevent it. I'm just going to prevent that fork from ever happening. Just move king d1. I have lost castling privileges here, but I think I'm fine. There's no necessary weakness. This knight has no good moves now. So I think I was doing alright here. Opponent castles. I develop my knight, also connecting my knights, attacking his knight. Pawn pushes to protect his knight. I take it anyway, and then just move my knight away. He plays bishop d7. I develop my bishop. Use his pawn to protect his pawn, and I just try and activate my pieces as quick as possible. Giving up this pawn, because I didn't think that pawn mattered right now. All my pieces are activated nearer his king. He can attack these pawns, but that's not where my king is. My opponent was doing a lot of one move threats. He pushed the pawn to b5, I just retreated my knight. Now that's a very committal pawn move next to his king. He attacks my rook, but I then just protect with bishop. So any move he does, I'm either nullifying or counter-attacking, and then he just retreats, usually back to the square he was. Now this, I feel like, was the turning point in the game. I think this pawn move, and the engine thinks so as well, it's just a free pawn. It's just a complete free pawn. He didn't have to take with his knight. I don't know why. I think he just totally miscalculated. I think he could have just moved his bishop. But apparently he should have done, according to the engine, was do bishop a3. Now apparently black is just totally winning here. But that's not what happened. This pawn, I took it. He took with his knight, which I just thought was a mistake. Took back the pawn, I had to check this knight's discovered attack on the bishop to win the bishop as well. I'm actually up 2 pieces for a pawn here. So I'm not doing too badly at all. My opponent then just takes h2. Is delivering us to another check. So I noticed the king and the rook are on the same diagonal. So now I'm up in exchange as well, so it says I'm +6. Push my pawn. Try and open up my rook a bit. I don't understand this move. I'm guessing he did rook there to maybe go here. Then I thought I could just move out of the way. I'll take the pawn. Now I have mate in 6 here after bishop b8. Apparently I need to start with bishop f3. Then c5. Rook d7. So it's moves that don't really... They don't check the king. It's just sort of cornering the king slowly but surely. So I didn't see that. What I did instead was knight c4 check. He takes my pawn. Rook check. This is now made in 8. Now, I was quite proud of this move. I played king d2 just to remove this square. Because if you see, at the moment the king has literally no squares. No squares at all. Quite proud I found that move. Obviously the threat is rook here, checkmate. So how do my opponent stop that? Played bishop c7. I take. There's rook here. Now apparently this doesn't stop checkmate because I've got this move. King's only move. Then this lovely mate here. Bishop d7 mate. All squares are covered. And this king has died. But I, of course, didn't see that. After rook b8, I did play rook e4 check. My opponent did play king b5, the only move. I did knight d6. I had mate in 1, removing the bishop, but I did knight d6. Moved this king up. Headed my rooks. I thought of trading rooks here. I thought it was too dangerous, so I did a knight check first. Took his pawn. Did a nice knight fork to win his rook. Eventually did play f5, but I just retreated my bishop, wasn't too much of a bother. And here was just converting. I actually got quite a nice mate with knight d3 check mate, which I actually thought was a harder mate to find than the other one once I put this in the engine. Yeah, checkmate, up 3 pieces. Wasn't too bad for a first game, especially when I was writing down the moves. Back when I played knight c4 check, I had 4 minutes on the clock. Remember that these are 50-minute games. I used 9 minutes because I was writing down the moves. So I did these where I was under time pressure. This point in the game. If I knew I had a mate in 1, I suppose I would take more time. But I was playing a bit quicker because my opponent did have about 6-7 minutes on the clock. So quite a lot of time more than me. So my accuracy according to chess.com on this was 79.2% as opposed to 67.6% accuracy from my opponent. Not a single blunder, so I suppose that's what happens when you don't blunder anything over the board. You get quite a high percentage. Now the white pieces for game 2. As we remember from the last video, I was black 3 times, so this time I'm white 3 times. And we all know what I play at the start. I play my e4 Italian stuff. He does d6, g6. The perk defense, pierce defense. Now this player has actually recommended that I play the pierce defense because he saw that I played the modern when he played the London. But I bet him when I played the modern. So I'm going to continue playing the modern. Because I've played the modern, which is very similar, like I get this exact same position, but with a different move order. So I just play my Italian castle. I often sacrifice a pawn to play d4. So this pawn I sacrifice a lot because I like to activate my rook with tempo, and a pawn's not that important at the start of the game, especially, well, not the e4 pawn at least. I've still got the centre covered with the bishop covering these squares, pawn covering these squares, and knight also protecting the pawn. I'm usually in quite good shape, which is why I don't mind sacrificing that pawn. Yeah, so here, I don't know why my opponent decided to castle. Because here, he had two moves actually. He had d5, just attacking my bishop straight away, and also cementing this knight here in the center. Probably what I would have played, but he also has knight f6 here. What happens is, castles, and then this is why he castled. Eagle-eyed viewers of you will notice. After rook takes, he has d5. But the problem is, yes, he's forking here. But after bishop takes, queen takes, white's still winning. Black may have a piece along this diagonal, but it's protected 3 times. And this queen, okay, is attacking the rook, but this rook can go straight back. This knight's protected. So this queen's not actually doing that much. Well, I thought anyway. I just did rook takes c7, take a pawn when I can see one. He doubles up his queen and rook. Knight c3, I treat it like a Scandinavian, get that queen out of there. And I think my opponent miscalculates again. Because after knight takes, and develops knight. I think after knight takes, he thinks he can take my queen. So I am threatening checkmate here. His king is completely stuck. But after, he said this to me after the game, oh, I should have taken your queen, but look what happens. Even if he does that, it's gonna be pretty bad, you know? I just thought white is still completely winning here. I'm gonna develop this knight, bring the rook into the game. I didn't see what black's plan was after that. So what happened to the game? Knight takes, knight takes. He took out the pawn. This was a bad mistake, and here I missed mate in 5. I did contemplate this move, which is the top-ended move, and is mate in 5. But I was scared of bishop here. I'll just show you. Queen takes. I thought bishop here was quite strong, but I can just do that. And what's this bishop going to do? What's this king going to go? Like king g7, I'm just going to take it, and I'm totally infiltrated. I will. And check here. There's so much good stuff here. I was scared of that, so I just doubled up. He plays the only move, really. Bishop e6. I just developed my bishop. This is unfortunate. He was attacking my b2 pawn, walked into a fork. He attacks my rook. I just take the rook and then take another rook. So now I'm up 15 points of material here. So I'm winning quite convincingly. I think it's just two bad calculations by my opponent. Moves his pawn, I activate my pieces. I'm now trying to trade off the bishop. Now it says mate in 10 here. So it would have been mate in 10, but he plays a really good move. f6 sort of thwarts most of my attack. But I'm quite proud that I saw this move, this tactical move. Knight e4. Because takes with check. Here. Here. This king only has maybe one square of escape. Check. It's looking bad. In fact, let's see. He plays e6 here. King has only one square. And here there's just the mate in 1. That's what I calculated. But here's to our opponent. He didn't play just a6. He played bishop f5. Now, after that, I played g6 check, which is actually apparently inferior. I should have done the original check I was looking for. Pawn takes, bishop takes, king takes. Then it's just a rudimentary checkmate here. So that's another checkmate, this time up 12 points of material. This game was really decided by this total miscalculation. If this miscalculation didn't happen, the game may have been a draw or something, but here, after a blunder of a queen and then a blunder of a rook, it is difficult to come back from that. I could even sacrifice a piece just to win. And in this game, I got 91.6% accuracy. I have had that accuracy maybe once or twice online, but over the board getting 91.6 accuracy is pretty revolting, to be honest. He played 68% accuracy. It was just a total wash. That's what happens when you can overcalculate your opponent. You can do slightly riskier things, knowing the fact that, you know, your traps may actually work. So going into game 3, I am up 2-0. And again, I play as white pieces. Now, I play against Stuart. He was the person who bet me last week in the Allegro. So how did I get on this time? Well, we all know what I'm playing first move. So e4, e5, ac3, knight f3, sorry, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. Now this is my Evans Gambit stuff. The stuff I said in the starting episode, which I've been studying. This is what I play as white. Evans Gambit is what I've been. It's totally my repertoire, in my wheelhouse. And I play d4. This is just what I play as white, and I resoundingly win most of the time. Let's see how I do against the one player who seems to beat me. So this is my line. So after e takes d4, a castle. Let him take the second pawn and play queen b3 here. That's what I play. That's how I play this position. If you give the engine a little time, it does say white's got a little advantage here. If, you know, white doesn't play correctly. Queen's queen e7. One of the better moves in this position. Now, I forgot the only move that I had to remember. In this position, I only have to remember one move. It's not even a difficult move. It is knight takes c3. These as I changed jobs, I've just not had time to go over my notes. So if I referred to my notes, I would have known that knight takes c3 is a must. Every other move loses for white. Every other move. Knight takes c3 is the only move. So here. Also protects his pawn. It's a very critical move in the position. But what happened is I played bishop g5, attacking the queen. Covers with his knight, and then I press. I know e5 is a move in Evans Gambit. So here it says we're about equal. Not doing too bad. He takes, I take, he castles. Now white is still winning here. But yeah, again, I played the wrong move. The move I should be playing. I can still play knight takes c3. But I should actually be playing this move. Attacking this bishop. Because this bishop doesn't only have maybe one square. Go back. And then maybe do knight c3 here, and then I'm just overwhelming him. But I played rook e1. Try and set up a discovered attack on the queen. He plays the only move to keep advantage, which is d5. Every other move is completely losing for black. He plays, of course, the only good move. I now played knight takes c3, sacrifice my bishop for activity. He plays the only move that really gives advantage again, bishop e6. Alright, this is my fatal error. Now here, I should have just played queen here. Or even just queen here, just get out of the way. What I did instead was decide to danger level him. Because I thought, when knight takes, bishop takes, you know, can't take with that piece. And then if bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes, I've got this move. And then this rook is under fire. Maybe we can take with the bishop. Oh, if he takes with the bishop in that position, I then take with a rook. and then we're just 2 rooks in an endgame. I'm down 2 pawns. But no, I've still got this knight, so it'll be a... Yeah, there's something there. Here, he can just take it. He can just do bishop takes. He plays queen d6. And then I play rook d1. Trying to, yet again, set up another discovered attack. And then he just takes it. Because after takes, I blunder a bishop. Straight up blunder a bishop. Takes it. The queen b5. He attacks my rook. Attacks my knight. He attacks my knight again. Just kicking me around. Attacks my knight again. I thought I set up a nice pin here. He just calmly played rook b8. I thought this move was nice. But then he has this move. Now I saw bishop takes f2 check. But I forgot to calculate that he could just take my rook afterwards. Now it's mate in 9. So after queen takes, I try and cover some squares. Delivers lots of checks. I just take his rook and resign. So I totally blundered that game. Completely blundered it. Because I forgot a move. If I go into the game review, I'm actually winning up until this position. And because I didn't play... Because I didn't play knight takes e3, and he played the best move in the position. I played a move too late. That was it. Then everything else just spiraled from there. My accuracy here was 61.7%. My opponent's was 77.8%, so they played a solid game. It's not as if I was missing tons of things, but I was missing enough. And he played 3 great moves, which means he played 3 moves which are the only good moves in that position. I gave him chances, give him too many chances to play the only move. If I give him, oh, this works, if he doesn't play this one move, then he plays that one move, that's where I went wrong. So, I lose again to the same person. Clearly just has my number. So we're 2-1 going in to game 4. Now game 4, I'm against Mark, highest rated player that I will play. It's Allegro. I bet him last time as well. So we'll see if I beat him this time. So I'm playing as black this time, because these were the last 2 games I was playing as white last time. So, e4, g6, and I'll just do it modern. Basic modern stuff. And play my d6, a6 lines. And he plays a4, preventing b5. b5 being this juicy square here. What I do is I just play b6. I've sort of transformed the position into a hedgehog, which is quite a good, just a solid setup for black. White can't really penetrate it that well. That was also very important that once he played queen f3, I played e6, the only move in the position. Doesn't just lose on the spot. He castles. I don't want pieces. Now usually I close a position in positions like this, but I didn't want to close this bishop. I thought this bishop was going to be very important to the game. So I took instead of closing the position like I usually do, and then just castle. Because this pawn is also blocking his bishop and his queen in ways. Like this diagonal is now completely blocked. And I thought that was going to be a important diagonal because that's the diagonal that's now facing towards my king. Like he can't play queen takes here now. So that was my point. But it is even material. The engine says I'm slightly better here, but nothing crazy. Rook defending the pawn. I'm not planning on taking that pawn. I want to keep that pawn where it is, so I didn't mind that. I just decided to kick his bishop out. After takes. The bishop's still under attack. He wins the pawn. I did sacrifice a pawn to do this. But then I thought after c6, in this transformation of the position, I am just winning. I don't know, I don't think he should have taken here. Well, I think after takes, he should have just moved his bishop here, somewhere. So the engine is given queen e2 or knight a3. It does not give sacrificing your light coloured bishop. So just have the bishop pair here. Now he's double attacking my pawn. I protect the pawn by covering it with a knight. He attacks my bishop. And then just offer a queen trade. It's his only active piece. He's got 3 pieces in the back rank, 2 of them where they started. And I've got an activated bishop. This rook sees a lot. This activated bishop. This knight's great. This is in the corner, not doing anything. So I was really happy with this position. So he takes my pawn on d6, attacking my bishop. But I play rook e8, threatening checkmate here. So heavily defend checkmate. He plays king f1, which is a blunder, complete blunder. What he could have maybe done is just put his bishop here, covering this. Then maybe I have to get crafty with moves like bishop h6. Maybe pawn here. I don't know how he wins this position or doesn't lose this position. What ended up happening was after king f1, I have this nasty check. My rook covers all of his escape squares. He plays rook back and it's checkmate. So that's how I win game 4. My accuracy on this wasn't actually as high as other games. I was 85.8% versus 82.3%. So my opponent did play well, but it's just that one move blunder, which just sort of changed the game entirely. After bishop here, bishop there apparently to attack this knight. Queen takes b6, queen takes b1, knight g5. Apparently white's just winning here. There's nothing I can do. So I would have had to get crafty. But that isn't what happens, so I do need to be aware of my opponent's counterplay. That can't happen. So I just need to be more aware of that. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this win. It was obviously quite lucky, especially against a much higher rated player. But I win, so that's 3-1 going into game 5. So game 5 is against a player I've never played before. It's not the same person as last week, because the last person in last week was a stand-in for this player. So e4, almost exact same opening, virtually identical. This time my opponent plays h3, preventing bishop here, which is quite common in these positions. But I don't do that. I play a6 in my b5 line. I usually do that against bishop c4. He plays bishop d5, which I thought was too easy to be attacked, so I don't know why he did it. And then he sacrifices bishop. Now I am familiar with this bishop sacrifice, but I just thought it didn't work, because the idea is to give this check, but then I just cover up and then I'm fine. Now the queen's not doing anything, it sees this pawn. Nothing's over here for it to attack, so I just didn't believe in it. Bishop here to attack the knight. Not too scared because it is still protected, not once but twice, and technically 3 times via x-ray. So I'm not overly worried. I play knight d7 just to protect the knight again. My opponent plays d5, and you see the eval bar is going really far down, because apparently after c takes d5, e takes d5, I've got knight e5 attacking the queen. And the best move is apparently queen e2, which is very depressing. Then I can maybe develop this bishop, I can maybe develop this one. I can even just push this pawn to get rid of the bishop. It doesn't look too good for my opponent here, but I didn't do that. I pushed instead. I wanted to keep, remember I said about closing the position? I like closing the position. as black, making white having to really work. He develops his knight, I develop my knight, so I do play knight e5 anyway. It goes all the way back to queen d1. I challenge his bishop. He trades. Now I thought for like a good minute or two here, which in 15 minutes is quite a lot of the time, whether it was better to take with the bishop or the pawn. Now, people often assume, well, the bishop, because then it's more activated. But the bishop in this square is usually really important in the modern. And in the modern a lot, you do trade the dark square bishop. I thought, what's this pawn going to do here? Because then that's a file that's not protected by a pawn now. This entire F file will just be a route for attack. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to take the pawn. And the engine agrees with me. The engine actually thinks taking with the pawn was the best decision. I think it's just to make my king safer, because remember he's not castled. He plays f4. With knight check for king. The pawn he just pushed, and the king. He tries to attack my knight. I solidify it with the pawn. So that's knight's now not going anywhere. He just develops another piece. I think my opponent was developing pieces when he didn't know what to do, which is fine. Look, that does blunder a pawn. Now, I got really excited here. I didn't have these. I just used actual paper, and I got really excited in this position. I actually wrote a move down. You can see I scribbled it out because I didn't want my opponent seeing it. I didn't want him to know that rook b1 was a fatal error. Because if he plays rook b1 in this position, well, I can take the queen here. I also thought, just if he ever plays queen b1 or rook b1 when I'm in this position, then I'm threatening this, which is as a triple fork. So I wrote down rook b1, just like, remember rook b1. If rook b1 happens, it's good. That's not what happens after knight takes. He goes queen b1. But I do the knight e4 idea anyway, to threaten this fork. Now, my opponent does play the wrong move. Here, it gives queen c2. It has just moving the queen, so that fork doesn't happen. He didn't see the fork, and I win his queen. Now the game is not over, far from over. But queen down is going to be difficult to come back from. I mean, I struggled enough of being a rook down game 3 last round. I attacked his knight. He moves his king forward. Now I calculated this back here. So I thought, if the king moves there, I'm going to play f5. Reason being, I want to open lines for my bishop here. This pawn's under attack, and I might even just push this pawn. They were my ideas. He pushes his pawn, I just take it. I just win a pawn and also develop my bishop. Now that knight's completely lost. He does a nice fork, but that completely fails with queen check, and then rook here. But instead of rook e1, what I actually should have done is checkmate. It doesn't look like it, which is why I didn't play it, but this is checkmate. That's covering that square. Queen is seeing all these bad boys. It's just checkmate. Completely checkmate. But I didn't see it. So what I played was rook here. He plays rook c1. And this is still checkmate. Believe it or not, I had mate in one for 2 whole moves. I did just a nice bishop move to win the rook. Again, here I have mate in 2. Gives queen f2. And mate here is just unstoppable. After this, even rook there Doesn't stop. e5 check. Because this bishop covers that pawn. It was wild. I just didn't see it. I just took the rook. I did the safer option. Here I had mate in 3. If I sacrificed my bishop here, king takes, yet again, f2, g6, g5 even. I just didn't see that mate at all. I did pawn, queen here, and my opponent resigned. We assumed checkmate. But what actually happens is he's got pawn here. Oh, no, that would have been bad. That wouldn't be bad, it's still checkmate, but yeah. So I won yet another game. Suboptimally, because the king could have just went here. And I would have had to do a lot more work. You have to do this move. It was still going to be checkmate, but it's going to take a lot more work. More work than it needs to be. And yeah, that is all 5 games. I won 4 and lost 1. So I've actually improved since last week, even though I haven't looked at any of my notes. It was a shame that I did lose that Evans Gambit game, especially for how much I did study it and the rest. I didn't get Evans Gambit at all in any of the 10 games, apart from that one. And I lost it, which means I do need to look at Evans Gambit better. But that's fine. I can read over. I'll now never forget to play knight takes c3 in my life ever again. Yeah, so I don't know what that does to the rating points. I'll find out maybe. I think it's later tonight I actually get the results. So I might even make a further follow-up video sort of detailing that. But until then, that was Steps versus Salsburgh 2. I'm looking forward to playing more competitive chess, because these 50-minute games have been really, really fun. Winning's fun, but also losing was... I need to take back information from my 2 losses. I do need to revise and see what I've done wrong. Well, what I did wrong in one of the games was blunder a rook. This one I've actually wrote down the moves so I can see exactly where I went wrong. The points I got out of 10 out of these 10 games was 7.5 out of 10, which is 75%. So winning 3/4 of my games, I can't ask for too much more than that for first ever competitive chess. Obviously I could have won them all, but if I win them all, you'd learn less. So I'm very happy. Looking forward to the next one. I don't know what I'm going to necessarily do for the next episode, because I don't know when the next competitive chess match is. It might be into next year, so the next video might just be a follow-up with the ratings. If there's any more information or anything I learned in my journey that I want you to know, or I feel like you would benefit knowing, then I'll be sure to let you know. But till then, that's me, and I'll see you then.